Hello and welcome to the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. My name is Issachar Bey. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I want to, definitely commend and show much gratitude to all of you who have been consistently a part of our platform, a part of our community. If this is your first time, please let us know what city, what state, what country you're listening from in the chat. If you also could do me a favor and hit the like button. Also, if you can, go ahead and subscribe to our channel so you can be notified of when content like this is being uploaded and being presented. And then also, if you know anybody else like yourself who can benefit from this kind of information, go ahead and hit that share button and go ahead and copy that link and text it and email it to your friends. We are forever grateful. We are extremely happy here. My name is Issachar Bey, and I am the founder and I am the director of the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. I want to thank you so much for you guys tuning in. We are here the same time every week, same time, same place. And we want to thank all of you who have been a part of this journey. We just left out of our series, The 8 Pillars of Success. So I would tell you, if this is your first time tuning in, go back and listen to that series. It will definitely change the trajectory of your life. I believe that it has some golden nuggets, some great wisdom in it that's unprecedented for this time and this season of your life. And I believe that if you listen to those teachings and you begin to apply them to your life, it's impossible for your life not to change and things not come into manifestation. We're moving into a different place now. We're moving into a different place. Spirit is moving me into a different area here. I want to say sort of like a mind or mental therapy kind of a situation here. But we're going to be dealing with some things I feel like that are going to be a little bit more into the transformation and awareness aspect. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about this. I'm really excited about this, and I'm glad that you guys are taking the journey with us. What we like to do is get you in a quiet place. We like to go into a spiritual mind treatment so we can get ourselves positioned, so we can get ourselves centered, so that when we move into this place of being centered, we can now receive the teaching, we can receive the word, we can hear it from a spiritual aspect, not just from the physical, not just from the emotional, but we can receive this teaching that we can hear things that maybe we couldn't hear before, or we can feel things and see things that we never felt or heard based on our being in this particular mindset. And so we are honored. If you can, go ahead and get in a quiet position and take a deep breath. Inhale and exhale. Once again, inhale and exhale. And once again, inhale and exhale. I turn inward now to the infinite presence, the divine intelligence that governs all life in perfect order, harmony, and power. I recognize this presence as the source of all creation, the very mind of God that speaks through every atom, every idea, every experience. And I declare that this same presence lives in me, moves through me, and responds to me. I know that I am not a victim of circumstance, nor am I a subject to conditions that exist outside of my authority. I am a creative being endowed with free will and sacred responsibility of choice. At every moment, I am choosing through thought, belief, action, or inaction. I declare now with boldness and clarity what I do not change, I am choosing. I release all illusion that things just are. I reject the idea that I must tolerate what does not serve me. If something remains in my life, whether lack, fear, limitation, or stagnation, I recognize it now as a choice. I have the power to transform. I call forth the divine courage to change. I rise into conscious alignment with the truth of my being. And I choose again. I choose joy. I choose freedom. I choose wholeness. I choose wealth. I choose peace. I choose to align my life with the highest vibration of spirit moving through me. I release this word into divine law, knowing that my conscious choices are already reshaping my life. I no longer wait. I no longer wonder. I decide, and life rises to meet me. And so it is, and so it is. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to speak from the subject, what you're not choosing, what you're not changing, you're choosing. Let me say that again. What you're not changing, you're choosing. I want to talk about that today. I want to take a look at that. What you're not changing, you're choosing. I don't just want to talk, I want to transform. I don't just want to agree, I want to awaken. I don't just want to sit, I want to ascend. I want you to pause and let this settle in. Every moment is a decision. Even when you think you're doing nothing, you're still deciding. You're just deciding to stay the same. Every moment is a decision. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not changing, you're choosing. All is mind. So what I dwell on, I dwell in. When I don't shift, I decide to sustain. If I don't choose to upgrade my beliefs, if I don't shift how I see myself, if I don't change, if I don't challenge the cycle, I'm signing off on the dysfunctional like a silent cosigner at a bank. See, if you don't choose to upgrade your beliefs, if you don't shift how you see yourself, if you don't challenge the cycles of your life, you are now understanding that you're in a place now where you're signing off, you are agreeing to this particular lifestyle, to these particular events, to being in the position that you are in life. I choose to transform over hesitation. I am the author, not the afterthought. I revoke permission for stagnation to stay. Now, every time I say that's how I am co-signing my current limitation. Somebody says something about you or somebody brings up something about you and you say, that's how I am. What you don't change, you choose. So when you say that's how I am, you're basically co-signing to your current limitation because maybe you don't see anything wrong with it. Maybe you have been operating in that so long that you don't realize what you're operating in because you've just been really indwelled in that. Every time you say, I've always been like this, I'm agreeing to let history override my destiny. I've always been like this. I've always done it like this. We've always done it like this. It's always happened like this. It's always been like this. What you don't change, you choose. You have energetic vows you didn't even know you made. Vows to stay small. Vows to stay loyal to struggle. Many of us have married mediocrity in our minds and called it realistic. You can't manifest change without a mindset that's still married with a mindset that's still married to your pain. And some of us are married to our pain. Some of us are married to lack. Some of us are still married to the drama. Some of us are still married to that. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, what you don't change, you choose. What you don't change, you choose. With sets in stone, that you have agreed to have your life be in the position that it's in now. Because you didn't change. You didn't want to change the situation. You didn't want to change the circumstance. So you're choosing to be in this situation that you're in. Some of you are in relationships. You didn't want to change. And because of your not wanting to change, you chose. How we operate our finances. We are not changing how we operate our finances. We're still doing the same thing we've been doing all the time. We get paid, we do this, we do that. And then we are now understanding that, hey, I didn't change. I haven't changed anything. So when I don't change, I'm really choosing. I'm choosing to be in the situation I'm in. I'm choosing to be in this predicament. I break every unconscious vow that no longer serves me. I divorce fear. I release stagnation. And I remarry my divine power. I don't make excuses. I make evolution. Sometimes I ask, what's the question? What is accountability? Accountability is it's not shame, it's not guilt, it's a divine portal. That's my definition of accountability. When I stop blaming my past, when I stop outsourcing my pain to my parents, my partners, my boss, my government, and my friends, I got free. When I stopped blaming and stopped putting my issues on everybody else. Blame is bondage. Blame is bondage. When you blame other people for everything that's going wrong in your life, well, the reason why this happened is because of the government, or the reason this is happening because I live in this state, and if I lived over there, that wouldn't be happening to me. And because I'm black, that's why they did this to me. Blame is bondage. But responsibility, that's revelation. Some of us keep praying for new results with the same old patterns. God isn't punishing you. You haven't changed your agreement. See, if you don't change, you choose. And a lot of us are not changing. A lot of us, we get up, we do the same thing we've been doing yesterday. We do the same thing we did last year. We did the same thing we did 3 years ago. And so we are frustrated because life is not changing. Life is not, things are not manifesting for us. Things are not coming into fruition for us. And we're feeling a certain kind of way about that. But in retrospect, you haven't changed anything. So when you don't change, you're actually letting the universe know that I'm choosing to be in this particular predicament at this moment. I haven't changed anything about my patterns, my habits. I want you to keep in mind and affirm to yourself this. I own my patterns so I can reprogram them. I accept responsibility as the highest form of power. I revoke the contract with comfort and no longer serves my calling. I revoke that contract, the contract of lack, the contract of loss, limitation, drama, the contract of being lonely, the contract of being broke, the contract of being sick. I revoke that contract that no longer serves my calling. Why? Because I now know that what I don't change, I choose. So I got to make some changes. I got to make some changes. Within my change, understand, ladies and gentlemen, that change comes from within. I constantly, if this is your first time listening into me, we always teach here at the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center that as within, so without, which means everything starts from within before we can experience it on the outside. And so when we say what you don't change, you choose, understand that yes, that is something that we can see the dynamics of in our physical reality, but it first starts from within. It starts from within first. And so I believe that the imagination is the workshop of the soul. It's the workshop of the soul. And as all of us here are mental alchemists, I know that if I can see it, I can script it. If I can feel it, I can frame it. Stop living like you're a side character in your own movie. We taught a series here a few months last year called The Great Reward, The Great Rewrite, how to rewrite your life script. We believe that life is a movie, and if you don't like the way your movie is going, you can rewrite the script. You can go listen to that series too. But some of us are living like we are the extra, or we are the side character in our own movie. You're not waiting on a savior, you're waiting on a script rewrite. That's what we're waiting on. What you don't change, you choose. I want you to look at your life right now, and you can say, you know what? This is Issachar Bey. Oh man, he done messed me up here. He's right. There's some things in my life that I really haven't changed, that I don't agree with, and I shouldn't be doing. I shouldn't be involved in. But because I didn't make the change, I actually chose to connect with that. And now that you brought this to my awareness, I'm just flabbergasted by it, because I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe that all this time I've been choosing to be in this situation. I've been choosing to be in this circumstance. What you don't imagine, you can't construct. And what you don't construct, you live by default. Pick one area of your life and write the scene as if it's already happened the way you want it to. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm some of you ladies want to be in relationships, or you may have a scene where your spouse or the love of your life is proposing to you, or if you're a gentleman that wants to get married, you are showing yourself proposing to a young lady, or you see yourself going to the bank, or you see yourself getting that car, that house, whatever it is. Give yourself the Oscar for the best rewritten destiny. You know, a lot of times when I watch movies, I've actually went to school to learn how to write screenplays. So, you know, when I watch movies, sometimes I have to watch it more than one time because a lot of times when I watch movies, I look at different things than everybody else. Everybody looks at it for just the general entertainment. They look at it, who's in it, did they make you laugh? Did they make you cry? I look at the storyline. I look at the structure. I look at so many other different things, producers, writers, editors, so many different other components to the film. But when you watch a film, you always want to see who was that person that really carried the film, that really took it over the top for you. And so when I say here, give yourself the Oscar, it's because you are the main character in your own life, your own movie. And when you learn how to make those changes, you realize, you know what, I need to make some changes. There's some things that I've been just and some of the things that we haven't changed that we're choosing could be small, minute things. But now that we are aware of those things, we realize that, you know what, I've been doing things like this for so long and I shouldn't even been doing this. This is not even how I want to operate. But now that you have come to an awareness of this, oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to make some changes. I am the architect of my outcomes. I do not live by default. I live by divine design. I imagine with intention and manifest with precision. The moment you try to grow, resistance shows up because your comfort zone is scared you're leaving it behind. Yeah, every time you get ready to make that change, resistance will show up because some of us need to get out of our comfort zone. We need to be uncomfortable. Uncomfortable makes you move. It makes you grow. It makes you learn. It makes you expand. But I've learned that resistance isn't the enemy. It's a revelation. It shows me what I'm still doubting. It reveals where I still need healing. It points me towards my next breakthrough. Yes, resistance, ladies and gentlemen, the flip side of that coin is revelation. Your resistance isn't your weakness. It's your wisdom saying, here's where the light needs to shine. Resistance is not rejection. It's revelation. I bless my discomfort, for it shows me where I am still evolving. I do not fear resistance. I follow it to my breakthrough. I really hope that you guys are getting this because I think this is phenomenal if you really embrace this, because many of us have not been changing. We have been doing the same thing over and over again. And the frustration comes in because we call this insanity when you keep doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. And when you don't change, you choose. Those of us that have been married for years and we've been doing the same thing over and over again, and there have been silent frustrations, which means that the husband or the wife have been having silent frustrations and they haven't been speaking to their spouse and they haven't been telling their spouse how they feel, and they've been feeling some kind of a way because they don't want to hurt their feelings and they don't want to kind of step on their toes, so to speak. And so what happens is not just in a marriage, but any relationship, mother, father, son, daughter, brother, sister, right? Relationship. And so you feel you don't want to step on that person's toes, but you realize that by not changing, you're continuing to choose to be in that situation. And so now that you're aware of that, you have to come to the realization that I need to start making some changes because I don't choose to be in this situation. I don't choose to be in these situations. I don't choose to be in these circumstances. So in order for me to become the architect of my life, I got to start making these changes. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And so I think it's imperative that even in your morning routines, even in the morning routines, I think that it's imperative that you come into a place where you begin to speak it into existence. For instance, the morning the morning mental rewrite, right? Speak the new identity to an existence before the world speaks fear into you. You got to learn how to speak your identity, speak your consciousness, speak your manifestation into existence before you allow the outside world, the world outside of you, to speak fear into you. Ask yourself, am I thinking from the place I desire or the place I dread? That right there by itself, that's it. When when you ask yourself this question, this is an audit. This is what I call a mental audit. Am I asking myself, am I going to ask myself this question? Am I thinking from the place I desire or from the place that I dread? And what happens is most of us are coming from the place that we dread, the place that we don't want to be, the place that we're miserable, the place that we complained about, the place where the pain is, the place that that we're comfortable in. See, some of us, we haven't changed for so long that we become comfortable in uh, uh, this whole discombobulation, this whole discomfort. We've become this whole disconnection. We've become comfortable in it. We become comfortable in it because we've been doing it for so long that we haven't changed. We've become accustomed to it. We become comfortable with it. And so what happens is we come from the place that we dread, and we've accepted it as a reality. And so this elevation of awareness today hopefully can get you to the place where you can separate yourself from it and begin to say to yourself, I need to make a change. I need to make a change. What did I choose today by what I ignored? What did I choose today by what I ignored? Let that sink into your mind. Remember, whenever I'm not changing, I'm choosing. I'm not changing the people who I hang around because the people I hang around, they are negative. They don't benefit me. They have me put myself in positions that can harm me. They have me put myself in positions that can really affect me on a mental, a spiritual, even a physical level. Um, I'm not changing the fact of the conversations I have, the people I hang around, my patterns, the things I do in my daily routine. I haven't changed any of those things. So by me not changing, I'm actually choosing to be in the same position in life that I've always been in for the last 10 years, for the last 5 years, for the last 20 years. And what I've been doing is anytime I get disgusted or get to the point where I can't take it anymore, I blame everybody else for my discomfort, for my discord, right? I blame the government. I blame the city. I blame the state. I blame my parents. I blame everybody else, right? Not realizing that by me not changing, I actually choose to be in the situation. Not anybody else, but me. And so what happens, ladies and gentlemen, is that when you realize you have the ability to make the change, life will meet you where you are. Life will meet you where you are. It will meet you. Life will meet you where you are. But if you're telling life that, hey, I'm good where I am, I'm not going to change, I'm just going to be here and I'm good, then that's where you are. But when you decide to make that change and you begin to make some changes, then things will begin to look differently, my friend. Every thought is a seed. I choose what I'm growing. Every thought is a seed. Every thought is a seed. And when you're thinking those thoughts, you have to be careful of what thoughts you think, because your thoughts are seeds that will begin to grow. I embody my next level before it arrives. I am not just changing, I am choosing to ascend. You got to ask yourself, what am I choosing? I say this at the end of our lecture every week. I say your destiny is not a matter of chance; it's a matter of choice. I say it every week. And what happens is, I want to make sure we get the understanding that many of us, by not doing anything, we're choosing. You know, I help people with their credit. I help people with legal stuff like tickets, stuff like that, court stuff, and I help people with, just all kind of different things that they have going on, right? And in the letters that we send out to these people, a lot of times I would put in there that if you don't respond, you agree by acquiescence. If you don't, so if you don't do anything, you still choosing. I do it all the time. I say to a person, listen, we're writing this letter to you to dispute this situation and to handle this situation. These are the things that we need you to do. These are the things that we want to get, dealt with and begin to dispute these things so we can find remedy and get this resolved. Now, if you don't respond by acquiescence, you're telling us that you agree to all the terms and the conditions of this contract. And so it happens all over, even in the legal ramifications. They do the same thing. They tell you if you don't respond, you agree to the terms. Remember, what you don't change, you choose. And so I want to be. I want to take this information and begin to use it into a place where I can really take things to the next level. Your identity governs your reality. You cannot manifest beyond who you believe you are. I tell you guys this all the time. You never get out of life what you want. You only get out of life what you become. Who do you believe you are? When I was when I was a little kid, my mother used to tell me, "Who do you think you are?" And she was basically saying, like, I know you don't lost your mind because you really think you're somebody who you're not. But in retrospect, as a person that I'm saying to now, who do you think you are? because you have to realize that you cannot manifest beyond who you believe you are. And that's the question you have to ask yourself, really, in real retrospect, who do I believe I am? And some of us will say, I don't even know who I am. To answer that question, who do you believe you are? Some of us could say, to be honest, Issachar, I don't even know who I am. And so, listen, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are stating, I don't know who I am, you didn't change that. So by not changing that, you chose. You chose to continue living a life that you don't know who you are. And guess what happens with those lives that are living based on you not knowing who you are? You have now agreed to all of the experiences and the consequences and all the things that come along with that. So if I change my life, I must change who I'm being. Because who I'm being, my being of me, my being, my nature, when I understand who I am in my nature, that I am I am the total complete spiritual specimen, spiritual being in a human body. We are all spiritual beings in a human in a human existence, right? We're spiritual beings in a human existence. And so what happens is we understand who we are. We understand that everything comes from the spiritual world before it's to the physical world. As within, so without. As above, so below. Right? I no longer ask, what do I want? I asked, who do I need to become to receive this naturally? Yeah, I no longer ask what I want. Because you never get out of life what you want. You only get out of life what you become. So I no longer going to ask myself, what do you want? I'm going to now ask myself, who do I need to become? Because in my becoming of this person, of this ideology, of this thought, of this conscious awareness, when I move into that level, now I become the very thing that I want to manifest. So I want to take the word want out of my vocabulary. And every time I think about wanting something, I'm going to talk about becoming it. I'm going to take the word want out, W-A-N-T. I'm no longer going to use that word. I'm going to say whatever, anytime I feel like I want something, I know that that's an indication of what I need to become. I rehearse that version of me. I think like me. I walk like me. Because the future version of me is not waiting. He's requiring. What version of yourself are you? You know, I think that self-awareness is so important because you have to know who you are. You have to know, I've always believed this, and I say this all the time, ladies and gentlemen, there's three reasons why everybody listening to my sound of the voice, there's three reasons why you were born. Number one, self-discovery. You're discovering who you are. You're discovering who you are. Number two, the second reason why you're born is to discover your gifts and your talents. Everybody here right now that's listening to the sound of my voice, you have a gift, you have a talent. You have a uniqueness that has been embedded in you that only you possess. All of us are different. We're not the same. We are all individual. Nobody's a copy. Everybody's an individual, their own unique expression of themselves. And so the third reason you're born is once you discover who you are, once you discover your gifts and your talents, now it's your obligation, your responsibility to serve humanity. Yeah, you were not born with your gifts and talents to be selfish, but to serve humanity. Why? Because if you serve humanity with your gifts and talents, and I serve humanity with my gifts and talents, and you serve and they serve, and we all serve humanity with our gifts and talents, that's how the world begins to embrace each other. That's how the world begins to grow and expand, because our gifts and talents help each other to grow, helps us to expand, helps us to learn, helps us to move forward. And so this is the situation that we're in. It allows us to move into that. It allows us to grow into that. It allows us to expand into that. I embody my becomings. I live from my future, not my fear. I do not chase results. I align with identity. I live from my future, not from my fear. We talked about fear last week in the 8 pillars of success. We talked about fear, meaning false evidence appearing real or facing everything and recovering, right? Fear paralyzes you. I don't want to live from fear. I'm living from my future. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The best way to predict the future is to create it. How do I create my future? By making changes. Because whatever I don't change, I choose. So I got to make the change. I got to make the change. And so some of you, when you go back, you may have to go back and listen to this again for it to really get in, really get the real girth out of this, right? And when you listen to this, what happens is there's going to be a shift in you, because when you realize that all this time in your life, you realize, damn, you know what? I've really been doing the same thing over and over again. I haven't changed. I've been talking about change. I've been wanting to change. I've been dreaming about change. I've been writing down what I want to change, but I haven't changed anything. And by me not changing anything, I've actually chosen to be in this position in my life. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't blame anybody else for the position and the circumstances you're in this life right now. You can't. I tell people this all the time. When you are a child and you are under your parental guidance, you are a victim, because you are not in control. Your parents are in control of you, and anything that happens to you, unfortunately, outside of the pretenses, you are a victim of that situation and those circumstances. But once you become an adult and you become 21 years plus and you become an adult, you have now become a volunteer. And what that means is that you have now volunteered to be entangled with all of these things that are happening in your life. And somebody will say right now, Issachar, no, I didn't. I did not volunteer to be sick. I did not volunteer to be lonely. I did not volunteer to be broke. I didn't volunteer. But guess what? What you don't change, you choose. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, you did. You did volunteer. You did volunteer. It takes bravery to let go of who you used to be. Even your broken version can be familiar. And familiarity is seductive. Even your broken version can be familiar. And familiarity is seductive. You have to be careful of not allowing yourself. That's why you really have to learn how to separate yourself. You see, a change, they always say an apology is changed behavior, right? So don't just say I'm sorry. Don't tell me you're sorry. Don't give me gifts. Don't send me flowers. All that stuff is wonderful. But the real apology is changed behavior, which means that you had a change. There was a change that took place, right? So when we talk about making a change, It's not by words. It's not by us sending gifts. And it's not by us writing stories and writing nice love texts and love letters and all of those things. When you make a change, that change happens from within. There is a conscious shift. There's an indwelling shift that takes place. And when that indwelling shift takes place, now you are saying to yourself, I'm no longer operating in this way anymore. I'm no longer operating in this habit and this belief pattern, and in this flow, I'm now making a change. And sometimes things you're still holding on to are expired. Do you realize that some of the things that we're holding on to have expired? Everything has an expiration date, ladies and gentlemen. Everything. Everything has an expiration date. Everything. And so some of the things that we're holding on to needed to be let go of. We're still holding on to it. It's already expired. And we're still holding on to it. We're still operating in it. And we're moving and we're going. Life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. The evaporation date passed and you're still sipping the spoiled milk. I had to learn that some exits are initiations. And then I had to learn that some losses are liberations. And that's why I love to decree, I have the courage to release what no longer serves my highest calling. I bless what was, but I serve what's becoming. I let go so I can level up. Everybody wants to upgrade their life. Everybody wants to level up. Everybody wants to go to the next level. But we're doing it the wrong way. We're doing it from the outside in instead of from the inside out. We want to go and upgrade by getting a new car, a house. We want to get all these clothes. We want to get, all of these materialistic things when the real upgrade is within. It's a mental upgrade. The real upgrade is on the spiritual level. Because once you upgrade on the mental and the spiritual level, then everything else falls into place. And so some of you have been in a call yourselves being in a trap, and you'll say to yourselves, you know what? I've been in this box. I've been in this trap for so long. It looks like life is not really going to do anything for me. I can't really find a good person that I want to, be in a relationship with. I can't really get the job that I want to get. I've never touched the kind of money that I wanted to touch. I've never really had my dream home, my dream car. It seems like, everything is just not going the way that I wanted it to go. But what happens is you haven't made the change. You're still operating in the same place that you've always operated in. So once you make that shift and make that change, what happens is now you're making that change within because you have upgraded. You have leveled up on a conscious level, on a spiritual level, on an emotional level. And what happens is now that you have made that shift, life will now begin to vibrate at your energy, at your frequency that you're at. I now choose to no longer be connected to stagnation. I choose growth. I choose truth. I choose me. It's amazing too when I counsel people and I sit down and I counsel people, relationships, singles. That's why I tell you guys in the link, there's a link in the description. You guys need to go ahead and click that link and go ahead and get a consultation with me. What happens is when you understand the relationship factor here, a lot of us don't even deal with ourselves. I want you to get this. A lot of us don't deal with ourselves. We deal with everything else but us. We deal with family. We deal with loved ones. We deal with husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, cousin, brother, sister, children. We deal with all of that. But we really don't deal with us. And until you begin to deal with you, then you will never really get what you're really trying to get out of life. You will never really get the manifestation because you haven't never really dealt with you. You've never really allowed yourself to really deal with you and to choose yourself. You can't go to anybody else and expect somebody to choose you if you haven't chose yourself. How can somebody else love you if you don't love yourself? I don't know if any of you have ever had a friend and you see a friend and you see how they take care of themselves. They buy themselves clothes, they take themselves out, they go on trips, they do everything, even on a solo trip, right? And so now when it comes time for birthdays or any kind of things, you now are going to take care of that person based on the level of how they take care of themselves. You know, this person buys nice things for themselves, they take care of themselves. So what happens now is you're not going to go to Family Dollar and Ross and Marshall's to buy them a gift. You're going to now go to the mall. You're going to go to somewhere nice because this person, this is how they take care of themselves. This is how they treat themselves. So I got to ask you the question, how are you treating yourself? Have you chosen you? Have you really looked in and begin to love you? Because how you love yourself is how other people will begin to connect with you. How you treat yourself, how you regard yourself. And so when that happens, it brings things into a perspective of how do I treat myself? How do I look at myself? And when you see how you begin to treat yourself and realize that you don't work with yourself, we do everything else but deal with ourselves and don't realize that that's the problem. What you don't change, you choose, ladies and gentlemen. And that comes to us. What we don't change about ourselves is what we're choosing. We can tell everybody else how to change. We could tell everybody else what they need to do. We could tell everybody else how they need to change their life or what they need to do. We could tell everybody what they need to do. But when it comes to us, we don't want to change. And when we don't do that, we don't realize that we are choosing to be in the same situation and the same circumstances that we're in. Right now, you've made a new choice. You've rewritten the contract. And now life has no chance but to respond. Life has no chance to respond because now you've made the change. Now you've come to yourself and look at it and say, you know, I got to make a change. I got to really change some things here. I really got to get myself in a position to really start making the changes that I need to make because I got to deal with me. See, a lot of times in life, we believe, we think that by changing everything else, life will change. Life is never going to change, ladies and gentlemen, until you change you. It all starts with you. I tell people right now, anybody that's in a relationship, if you are a woman and you're married and you're a wife and you're trying to change your husband, it's never going to work. If you're a husband and you're trying to change your wife, it's never going to work. If you're a boyfriend and you're trying to change your girlfriend, if you're a girlfriend and you're trying to change your boyfriend, it's never going to work. What happens is you change yourself. You change you. And once you change, the person that you're in a relationship with has to change now because you elevated. So in order for them to deal with you, they now have to elevate to your level because you made the change. You don't have to force the other person to change. And that's the same thing in life. Everything in your life will begin to shift once you make the change. You want to see your finances change. You want to see your health change. You want to see your career, your job, your entrepreneurship, everything that you're doing, you want to see it change. It changes when you make the change within you. And once you make that shift and you elevate, everything else now will begin to elevate now because you say, wait a minute, I'm on a higher level now. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I love this analogy by Carolyn Mace. She talks about the castle, right, or the building. And in this building, she walks into the building, and it has 9 floors, right? The first floor is extremely noisy. Why? Because it's on the ground level. There's people walking all around the street. There's dogs. There's cats. There's all kind of noise. There's cars honking their horns. There's people cursing each other out. It's a mess, right? But once you go from the first floor and you go all the way to the top floor, the 9th floor, which is the penthouse, and you're standing on the rooftop, you can't hear anything. You can no longer hear the siren, the cars honking each other. You can no longer hear the day-to-day hustle bustle of people going back and forth to work, of dogs and cats fighting and chasing each other. Why? Because you have elevated to the higher level. But guess what? You can see something on the penthouse terrace that you can't see on the first floor. Your view has changed. What you see on the 9th on the penthouse rooftop is totally different. What you're going to see on the 5th floor, the 4th floor, the 3rd floor, the 7th floor, and same thing in life. In life, when you elevate yourself in consciousness, when you elevate yourself in a spiritual connotation, you start to see things and have access to things that you didn't have before. And so life shifts now because life says, wait a minute, we're no longer on the first floor no more. We're on the penthouse rooftop. And so you start to see things differently. Why? You no longer hear what's going on the ground level floor. You no longer hear this new couple that just moved in arguing and throwing and playing loud music on the 3rd floor. You can't hear that no more. Why? Because you're on a rooftop now. You're on the penthouse rooftop. Once you elevate you, once you look at you and you begin to make that change, everything in life will begin to stand up and operate with you. Because what you don't change, you're choosing. You know you're not supposed to be in that relationship with this person. You know this person is no good for you. You know this person doesn't benefit you. You know this person is holding you down. You know this person is not benefiting you at all. But guess what? You don't want to change. So you're choosing to be in this relationship. And so now you're frustrated, you're depressed, you're blaming everybody, you got an attitude, you always don't have nothing good to say about nobody. Nobody wants to be around you because you have that you just have an attitude all the time. And it's because you don't want to change. So you're chosen to be in this situation and in this circumstance. You're on a job where you don't want to be. You don't like the job. You're depressed to going to work. You're depressed coming home. But you're telling yourself, I got to do this job because I got to do this. I got to do that. And you don't realize that you have by not changing, you're choosing to be in this situation. So now you come home, you don't want to talk to your kids, you're upset, you don't want to talk to your family, you always have an attitude, you're always depressed, you're always upset. But you have chose to be in that situation because you never made the change. We can't blame everybody or anybody for our circumstances or our situations. We can't blame them. But you have the opportunity at this moment right here and right now to make the change. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are not changing, you're choosing. And I want to thank you for listening today. I hope that you really get something out of this. My name is Issachar Bey, and I am the Senior Director of the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. And I want to thank all of you for being a part of this great teaching today. Listen, we have something we call circulation. And in circulation, we give you the opportunity to be a blessing to our organization, to be a blessing to our ministry. And so those of you that want and can, and you want to give a donation, you can. We ask everybody who can to donate a $26 seed. But if you can't, if you only have $5, $10, $15, $20, some of you may say, I want to give more than $26. That's fine. Whatever it is you want to give, we speak it into existence that you will receive a 100-fold return. Why? Because we believe that whatever you release out of your hand, we call it circulation. The blessing will come back to its original point of origin. And so within that, we speak it into existence that the blessings will fall onto you. Why do you say that, Issachar? Because as a man soweth, so that shall he reap. And that means that those of you that have sown into this organization and sown into this ministry, life by the universal laws will automatically bless you every time. And so we believe that, and we honor you for that, and we thank you for your help. It helps us to grow. It helps us to run ads. It helps us to really get out there and really become more visible and get more people like yourselves that can get this knowledge and wisdom. Why? Because we believe in changing lives. We believe in helping people become the best version of themselves and teaching people how to rewrite their life script. And so I want to thank all of you. There's 4 ways you can give. The first way is going to be Cash App, TOESC. Once again, that's Cash App, TOESC. All of the ways to give are also in the description. Another way that you can give, the other 2 ways you can give is going to be Zelle and Venmo. Zelle and PayPal. Zelle and PayPal are the other 2 ways you can give, which are going to be info, INFO, at TOESC.org. Once again, that's going to be INFO at TOESC.org. And then also Venmo. Venmo is another one that you can give. Venmo is going to be Issachar Bey, ISSACHARBEY at gmail.com. That's going to be Issachar Bey at gmail.com. That is the other way that you can give on Venmo. Those are the 4 ways that you can give. I want you to know that we're forever grateful and thankful for any contributions, any seeds, any donations that you give. We are forever grateful. I want to say this one thing also. I want to say to you guys that your destiny is it's not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. And I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.